promises economic prosperity for all. But there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. Namibian First Lady Netembo Nandi-Ndaitwah has pledged that her nation will take the right steps towards economic prosperity. Online, Dr. Paul Kariuki, Executive Director of the Democracy Development Program and convener at the Africa Policy Circle. Dr. Kariuki, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shafiq, for having me on the show, and good afternoon to your listeners.
And of course, we're going to get in as much as we can in the limited time we have available. One thing about Namibia, their population is much smaller than ours, although the huge distances inside the country. But it seems to me that a smaller country has maybe a better chance of reaching the targets that the Namibia's First Lady has put out than a bigger country like South Africa.
I agree with you 100% because of the size of the economy of the country, but also her strategic positioning on the continent. And even thirdly, now that is also trying to recreate the political analogy of our continent to see more women of her stature, gaining access to political leadership at the continental level and being able to, contribute towards socioeconomic development of their own countries, but of course promote the ascendancy of women in political leadership, which has been quite of a struggle on our continent. And of course, she joins other women leaders who have had the opportunity to lead at the highest political office in their country. So there is everything going well for her in terms of conditions around, development of her nation, and also, of course, in women in political leadership. But of course, it's also juxtaposed in between opportunities and challenges.
And of course, what is refreshing here is that Namibia has realized very quickly, the new government, that you cannot just rely on things such as iron ore, diamonds, gold and oil, etc., which Namibia has huge riches of, but that one has to actually diversify the economy. And this is the message that is coming through strongly.
I agree with you 100%. Her coming into the political office at this point in time, as it may look challenging and a bit scary because of what geopolitical tensions that are manifesting themselves around the world. From her point of view, if she is going to make any indelible mark in her presidency in her first term, is to diversify the economy of the nation. As you correctly pointed out, the country has been very highly resource dependent, especially in natural resources regarding mining and agriculture. And it's time now to join the rest of the continent and, of course, other countries on the world, especially from the developing countries, to rethink possibilities outside of the main economic activities that have been associated with the nation. Any nation that is not going to rethink about diversifying its economy is going to be in a very difficult point economically, because the conditions around the world, politically and economically, do not allow a specialization, if I put it that way, of one source or one way of doing economic development in the country. So I think Namibia stands in a very good place right now to move into that direction. She seems to be speaking the language that would motivate both domestic and external support from the private sector and other philanthropists who may want to invest in that economy. And of course, she's also talking in the language of dealing with the big issues that do threaten this kind of dreams, if I put it that way. And that is issues of corruption, issues of climate change impact resolution. Remember, Namibia is a water-scarce country, and is always facing a lot of droughts. And so her response to this in her speech really motivated the global platforms around what are the opportunities that they can be able to move into and support her dream. So around climate resilience initiatives, she did mention about implementing programs that will support sustainable land management, promote sustainable agriculture, and of course water resource management to help communities to adapt to climate change. This kind of messaging is very supportive. and it will attract any support from around the world to make, to help with the delivery of the dream, but also to invest in an economy that really needs external resources to grow. Remember, the other challenge that the country is facing, and this time she's coming on board, is high levels of unemployment, almost reaching 40%. And 85 of that 45% is young people. And therefore, she has her work cut out in ensuring that youth empowerment is meaningful and it's not just political rhetoric. She has to find ways to create job opportunities and bringing young people into the economy, as well as enhancing their capacities to participate in the political trajectory of the country, because the opposite will be costly for her presidency.
And of course, Namibia has got a chance. Namibia's got a very long coastline, so there's lots of opportunity, for example, for desalination. Namibia is a desert country, but if you look at what the Gulf states have done, huge opportunities there, I would say. Lots of sunlight. And there's also lots of wind there in terms of alternative energy. So Namibia is certainly now out of the shadow of South Africa for many years. There's a lot that could be done.
I agree. A lot could be done. And being that also she would like to make sure that her legacy outlives her presidency, whether she serves in one term or two terms, it is important for her, and I'm sure she's got her eyes set on the ball to set an example to her own leaders within the country and even on the continent, that is important to emphasize good governance, promote good accountability, and ensure that the socioeconomic dream of the country is accelerated. If she manages to do those three things properly in her first term, she'll stand a very good chance to be given by Namibians another chance to lead them, because Namibians, like any other African countries, are yearning for a change in the political and socioeconomic landscape of their countries. And this, they see, from what one would gather from responses that one could have read and see and hear the reports, media reports, there is the hunger to support her dream, which is a first tick box. Because you can do, as a president, I guess, it's very difficult to roll out a dream if there is no buy-in by your citizenry. And across political landscape in the country, with all the challenges they've been facing leading up to her inauguration, there is a desire to support from across political parties and from across the citizenry. That's a very powerful sign. Her challenge now is to build on that momentum and ensure that she's building an inclusive kind of engagement across political divides, across public and private sectors, and of course involve communities and citizenry at large, in ensuring that as she rolls out her dream, she's collectively going with everyone, leaving no one behind. And I think it's important also to emphasize she's also building a legacy around women in political leadership. She's coming in at a time when there is significant desire to see more women taking up such a level of political leadership in the land and enjoying support, not simply because they are women, but because they are seen as capable candidates to promote sustainable African development. I think she brings in the political maturity needed at that level because of her long history in politics, but also she seems to be, surrounding herself with competent people that will help her deliver that dream. And if you have seen, half of her cabinet is actually made of women, and she has also appointed a woman vice president. Those are big moves on our continent at this present time. And I think it underscores the need for, continuous women participation in leadership at all facets, at the same time also promoting representative governance that brings everyone on board.
100%, and a big thumbs up for Namibia, which is a stunningly beautiful country to visit as well, and wonderful people there as well. But Dr. Paul Kariuki, Executive Director of the Democracy Development Program and convener at the Africa Policy Circle for this week's African Mirror, it's always an honor.
Thank you so much, Shafiq. Have a good afternoon.